Welcome back to the Mount Man Medical YouTube channel. Thanks for hanging out. In today's video, we're going to take a look at an officer-involved shooting. This is a pretty rough one, but I think we can learn some good stuff from it. So hang out. We're going to talk about that next.
Get the fuck down!
So we can hear there in that first little bit, there were some gunshots, and then the officer returned fire, says, get down, and he hears officer hit instead. And I think that's when he realizes that he might have just shot a fellow officer. So let's see how this turns out.
Where you at? Where you at? My legs. Okay. My legs and my right ankle. 1813 for status. Sir, get back! Get back! Get in the house! Where you at?
Now, one of the things that you want to be aware of when you're trying to take care of somebody is try to get them lowered down to the ground. This is very important because if they start losing a lot of blood and they go to pass out, then they're going to eat a face full of concrete. So we want to get them as low to the ground as possible, get them laying on the ground, and we'll get them taken care of there. Additionally, he could have fractures in his legs from those bullets. So we want to make sure that we're getting him down and getting him stabilized, and that'll help quite a bit for his care.
Hey, step in, step in. Right here, right. Hey, step in. 1811 for a 10. 1810 up in chat. Copy that, 1810, where's your location?
But the scene is not done yet. We still have other casualties. Another officer was struck in the chest by gunfire from the suspect. He's going to notice that the other officer is down and might need his help.
You good?
Somebody verify the location of the officer shot.
What's the address here? Are you hit?
What is the location of the officer?
Watch fire. You hit? Yeah. Alright, get down.
Place
Okay, get.
in the leg and chest.
1810, are you?
Wait, no, try to get right here!
So we can see as he approaches that officer is stumbling around and not doing so well. And you can't really tell just yet, but in a future clip, you're going to see how his complexion is very pale. A lot of the blood has been drained out of his face, and that is a good sign that he's not doing very well. You can also hear as he's trying to talk, he's not really catching his breath quite as well. It sounds like he's a little out of breath. Now, he has been running, obviously chasing the suspect, so that is something to take into consideration. But we can see him pass out. Other officer who was struck in the leg by the gunfire, he was bleeding. He has obvious wounds, but his complexion was really good. He was answering questions really well. He was even standing. Those are all good signs that he's not in a dangerous place at the moment. Now, that could change. We don't know what's going on in his body, but at the moment, I'm feeling pretty good about that first officer who shot in the legs, and I'm going to be much more concerned about this officer who's stumbling around and not being able to catch his breath. So keep that into mind when you have multiple casualties, multiple patients. Who needs to be taken care of first? The officer who has the gunshot wound to the chest, he is the priority at the moment, and then as soon as you can get him wrapped up and taken care of, then we can start on the other guy and make sure that everything has been done appropriately. Make sure that you're dividing up all of the tasks so that you're not the only person running around and trying to do things. Often in these types of emergencies, you might be the only one reacting while everybody else kind of stands around and is in shock and don't know what to do. So if you've got the skills, you've got the gear, this is how you help.
Where you hit?
We can see him collapsed up against that fence, right? He folded under, his legs buckled completely under him, and he did not catch himself at all. He is passed out. This is a great sign that he is in a bad place. So we want to start working as quickly as possible. This officer jumps on top and starts immediately removing his gear. This is great. This is exactly what you want to be doing. We got to find that wound. We got to find that source of bleeding, and we need to start controlling it as quickly as possible. So we got to get those clothes off. But how are we going to do that? This is going to be a good example of what happens in an emergency situation when you need to remove the clothing from somebody so you can get eyes on the wounds, but you don't have the right gear.
You got it? Yes. Salt and pit. This paramedic is hit.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
You with me, buddy? You with me? Just keep breathing. Just keep fucking breathing. Get him in my fucking car. Let's go. Can I sit up? Here I come. Double leg. Let's go. Roll it. Just keep hanging on, bro. You right here? Yep, right there.
All right, a couple of things right there. First, we want to make sure that we're able to remove those clothes safely. One of the officers had a pair of Raptor shears, which is great. Having a set of trauma shears on your body if you're in a job like this is, in my opinion, an essential piece of kit. You will use it for a large number of things. You always need to have some trauma shears on you if you're a police officer. Additionally, we can see why is because that one officer had to pull out his knife to cut the remainder of that clothing away. And in an emergency situation, this is a very dangerous time to be having an open blade out. People can be running around, kick your arm, and you can stick that into your casualty's chest and make the problem worse, right? Sometimes you just got to make do, right? Sometimes you don't have a choice and you just got to make it work. But if we can help it, we want to try to have some trauma shears on us so that we can make this situation a little bit safer because it's already dangerous and we don't want to make it worse. The wrap up of this story is that both of these officers survived their wounds and have returned back to work. And I think there are some valuable things that we can learn from this. We could see as they were carrying him away, he was very pale and asking to sit up. This is something that's very common for somebody who's having a difficulty breathing. They're not going to be able to move air quite as efficiently. By sitting up, it'll take some of the pressure off of their chest and make it a little bit easier for them to breathe. This is often why you will see somebody in what's called the tripod position, which is leaned over with their arms and hands resting on their knees, taking some of the pressure off of their chest and making it a little bit easier for them. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to head over to mountainmanmedical.com. Check out our Yellowstone and Wind River trauma kits. Be ready for whatever the mountain throws at you. Don't forget to hit a like and subscribe on this video. It's a free way to support me here at the channel. I'll catch you guys at the next one.